First story. I caught my wife of 30 years cheating. One of her lovers shared the evidence of her infidelity. I felt betrayed by my wife, so I divorced her years later. She showed again, demanding that I destroy the evidence of her cheating. My daughter, who had been betrayed by her boyfriend, took my ex's side, but I refused. Now my ex has the first story is about my wife of 30 years cheating on me. After one of her lovers showed me the evidence of her infidelity, I felt betrayed and divorced her years later. She showed me again, demanding that I destroy the evidence. My daughter, who was betrayed by her boyfriend, took my ex's side, but I refused. Now my ex has been arrested for breaking into my house. My daughter blames me. I am a 52-year-old man who used to be married to my ex, Candy, who is 52. I loved her very much. We met in our teens when she moved into the neighborhood right before high school, and I instantly had a crush on her. However, I didn't actually make a move until our senior year. I was arrested for breaking into my house. My daughter blames me. I used to be married to my ex, Candy. I was 52 at the time. I loved her very much. We met in our teens when she moved into the neighborhood right before high school. I instantly had a crush on her, but I didn't actually make a move until our senior year. We got married shortly after she graduated college and had 3 children together. Laura, 26, Tom, 23, and Marie, 21. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but I thought Candy was happy with the family and life we created. However, I was wrong. Candy was bored with me and wanted more excitement, but instead of confessing, we got married after she finished college. We had 3 children, Laura, 26, Tom, 23, and Marie, 21. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but I thought Candy was happy with us and our life together. However, I was wrong. Candy was bored with me and wanted more excitement. Instead of telling me how she really felt and thought, she went looking elsewhere. According to her, it all started when Candy and her friends went on a weekend trip to Las Vegas. There she got drunk and had some fun with 2 male strippers. Candy said that while nothing happened beyond second base, it awakened something in her. She regretted not going further. A year after that, she started going to bars and clubs for excitement, and eventually started having sex with other men, with at least 2 of her girlfriends covering for her. I was never the wiser and probably would still be married to Candy if one of her lovers hadn't. Secretly, he was angry that she had another man and sent me the evidence to hurt her. I was upset about what I had seen and didn't respond well. I asked for a divorce and my lawyer used some of the evidence in court, but not all of it. It wasn't necessary. I still have all the evidence that I was given, and I stored it in the attic. Recently, my youngest made some not-so-great choices with an ex-boyfriend, and I ended up having to get a lawyer for her. I am amazed at how much the laws have changed, and I'm glad my daughter is protected after it was over. I had a serious talk with her, telling her to be more careful and to always be prepared that this could happen again, even if the law is on her side, because some guys just don't care. This was a long and deep conversation, and I admitted to Marie about how I found out her mom had cheated and let it. I told her that I still had evidence, but I didn't tell her everything. 2 days later, Marie came to my door and demanded that I give her everything. She was angry and yelled at me for keeping it. I told her that I had been given these things before the law said you couldn't have them, and that as long as I don't upload or share them, I'm fine. I'm legally in the clear. Candy went and told our adult children Marie is fully on her side, which is expected, but Tom and Laura are a little different. When asked why, I told my children that I keep it as a reminder of why I should never care about their mother. Tom feels that since I've never done anything wrong, I'm not going to throw it away, but I'm not going to keep it either. Marie is on my side as expected, but Tom and Laura are different. I told my children that I keep it as a reminder of why I should never care about their mother. Tom feels that since I've never done anything with it before and so long as I don't, it's okay. Laura says that she prefers I trash it, but she won't cut me off like Marie threatened. So I'm asking Ada to edit this post for typos. Also, the amount of people here who keep asking me the same question as if I didn't already answer in the post is annoying. I'll keep answering the same question, but please just ask me why I still have it. If you don't like the answer or don't understand it, that's not my problem. I'd also like to thank the people who pointed out that I should keep hold of it for legal purposes, since it is technically evidence. It was a good idea. I've since explained it to my eldest, who will pass it on to my ex-wife and youngest. Also, please stop insulting my youngest daughter or saying that she is just like her mother and deserved what she went through. My ex was recorded doing something she shouldn't with someone she shouldn't. It was her choice and the consequences of what happened are on her. Marie never sent anything to her ex. He recorded her when she was with him without her knowing and only told her when she tried to break up with him, as a way to keep her in the relationship. Marie is understandably very sensitive to this issue, so I'm giving her space. I don't think Marie would ever cut me off. Ada's comments are very mixed. OP explains the timeline of the recording. 0p. No. Marie was well into adulthood when the evidence was taken. Why would you think that? Commenter 1T. Apart from your son, I'm disappointed in your daughters. If I were them, I would be more concerned that you found out about your mom's infidelity in the way you did. I'm giving Marie a pass because of her recent experience, but I know Laura had the toughest time with the divorce and still gets a little anxious whenever her mom. I go to the same events, so I think she just wants it all to go away. Commenter. Don't let resentment and bitterness build up inside you. Let go of the past and move on with your life. Don't drag your kids into this. I don't drag our kids into this. She is the one who told them how I wouldn't give her the tapes, and she dragged them into it when she chose to cheat. She dragged them into this when she tried to blame me for the divorce. Commenter 3. You're so creepy. It's like you're holding on to it. So if she is ever happy in a relationship, then... She told them I wouldn't give her the tapes. She dragged them into it when she chose to cheat. She dragged them into this when she tried to blame me for the divorce. Commenter 3. You're so creepy. It's like you're holding on to it. If she is ever happy in a relationship, you will pull it out to show the guy. Move on. 0p. She is in a relationship with someone else. She has been with them for at least 3 years. I've never shown it to the guy, and never will, because then my ex would have a case against me. However, if he ever asked me to verbally confirm anything, I would not hold back on the details. Update. 3 months later, I wasn't sure if I was going to do this, but since someone messaged me, I thought I'd share. I don't know if I'll give another update after this one, though. Long story short, my ex got arrested and is facing charges. For details, please continue reading. Context. I had a security system too. I'm going to give you some background before I tell you what happened. My children know the security code for my security system, but for some reason the company that installed it changed. When I upgraded it, I was given a new code and a new security pad. I also moved the system to a different spot as the people who installed it told me to. I told my 2 eldest children the new code. Now here's what happened. My ex got arrested and is facing charges. I don't like texting that information because I'm afraid of phone hacking. My youngest daughter wasn't talking to me and didn't want to hear from me, so she didn't know about the code change. Now I will tell you what happened. I left town for a trip that I had arranged a while back, and my youngest daughter knew about it. I don't like texting that sort of thing because I'm afraid of phone hacking. Also, my youngest daughter wasn't talking to me and didn't want to hear from me, so she didn't know about the change in codes. Now I went away for a trip that I had arranged some time ago. My youngest daughter knew about the trip and that it was going to be about 7 days long, so my neighbors knew to look out for anything strange. 2 days after I left, I got an alert on my phone that someone was breaking into my house. I called the company, and I told them that I hadn't gone into my home and wasn't expecting anyone. My neighbors also called that the trip was going to last for 7 days, so my neighbors knew to look out for anything strange. 2 days into my trip, I got a message saying that someone was breaking into my house. I told the company that I hadn't gone into my home, and that I wasn't expecting anyone. My neighbors also called the police. I could see on the security camera that it was my ex-wife, and she had someone else there, but I didn't recognize them. The police had detained my ex, who insisted that it was all a simple misunderstanding. I told them over the phone that it wasn't, and that I wanted to press charges. I then laughed when the call was over. That I laughed a lot hard, and to the point where I was in tears and struggling to breathe. There was something about my wrongdoings being punished by the law that felt so freeing to me, But my joy stopped when I started getting calls from my youngest. Turns out she told the old security guard about my actions. Code to her mom with the intent to search my home for the tapes while I was gone and get them. My ex went on a different day than what was planned, I don't know why, and that's how everything happened. My daughter asked me not to press charges, but I went forward with it. My daughter was angry with me, and we got into an argument. I sent a text to her mom while I was away, saying I would search my home for the tapes. My ex came back a different day than planned, though I don't know why. That's how everything happened. My daughter asked me not to press charges, but I went ahead with it. My daughter was angry with me, and we had an argument where she blamed me for still having the tapes and for telling her that I had them. We haven't really spoken since, but my other daughter convinced me to go to therapy. After a couple of sessions, I discovered that one of the reasons why I held on to the tapes was because I never felt as if my ex was. He never apologized or showed remorse and just made excuses. This has always made me angry, and it's also why I'm refusing to drop the charges. I'm still trying to process what all this means, but that's how it is right now. Relevant comments. OP explains more about his state laws about the I'm still angry about the way she behaved. And I'm not going to drop the charges just because she's been punished enough. I'm trying to understand what's going on, but it's hard. OP explains more about his state laws and the evidence he has, and the charges against X0. I don't know where you are, but in my state, my lawyer said I'm in the clear because the DVDs were made before there were laws against them. Also, I'm not dropping the charges. She broke into my house, which is a crime. She had the intent to steal, which is a crime, and she damaged. I have evidence of this and the charges against X0P. Where I live, my lawyer said I'm not guilty because the DVDs were made before there were laws against them. Also, I'm not dropping the charges. Breaking into my house is a crime, and so is entering my home with the intent to steal and damaging my property. I don't know how my daughter would be able to testify against me without getting herself into trouble, but we'll deal with that when the time comes. Why is O's acts around him and the family? O's kids are technically adults now, but I still see her. Some of my property was damaged during the attempt. It's a crime, but I don't know how my daughter could testify against me without getting into trouble. We'll deal with that when the time comes. Why is O's acts around him and the family? O's kids are technically adults now, but I still see her at events because they want us both there. It's tough, but it's just one of those things that you have to put up with as a dad. Commenter, wouldn't the daughter be an accessory to the break-in since she gave her mother the security code, knowing that her mother was going to break into his house? My best friend's parents are homophobic. They call him by his dead name and have demanded that he is removed from the guest list for my wedding. They say that he will ruin the wedding photos. They tried to bribe me by paying for my wedding and threatened not to attend. So I told them to go away. I'm 28 and planning to marry my 32-year-old fiancé in March. I was at my parents' home recently telling them about our wedding party, which includes a male friend of mine as a groomsman. This friend, called Steven, went to high school with me and is a post-op trans man. I'm getting married in March. I was at my parents' house recently telling them about our wedding party. It's going to include a male friend of mine as a groomsman. This friend Steven went to high school with me and is a post-op trans man. My fiancé said he'd love to have Steven as a groomsman, so I asked him, and he was delighted. Then I told my parents and they were like, "Oh, we didn't realize she was going to be actually in the wedding. She'll be in all the photographs. We don't think that's appropriate." So I was obviously instantly angry. They said they wouldn't feel comfortable attending and being in all the wedding photos with her. They said that I would need to remove Steven from the wedding party if they wanted to come. I told them that if they didn't feel comfortable, they didn't have to come. I left. I came back. I left home and immediately transferred them the money for the wedding dress. I then got a phone call from my mother telling me that they would pay for the whole wedding if I removed Steven. She was basically bribing us. I just told her I needed space and I hung up. That was 3 days ago and I haven't spoken to them since. I'm shocked. They've never spoken ill of Steven before, so I'm upset that they would show so little respect to someone who is so important to me. I am also upset that they have so little respect for me that they think I would turn my back on a lifelong friend for money. I don't know if I should speak to them in a few days. I'm torn between speaking to them when things have calmed down or leaving it to them. Some people have said I'm being difficult because they're my parents and they have a right to an opinion, even if it's something I don't agree with, that I'll regret them not being at my wedding and, realistically, it will ruin our relationship. Uncles and aunts are calling me, saying that this will tear our family apart, and that I'm being selfish. A cousin texted me to say that I'm choosing friends over family, and that she and her parents won't be attending if my parents aren't, and the same for other members of the family. It's become a huge deal where a lot of my family will likely not attend. I don't think it's selfish to want to celebrate my day with everyone I love. I feel like the ball is in their court and they have the choice to come or not. I'm not going to stop my parents from coming to my wedding, but I just want to know if I'm wrong for thinking that they won't be there. To my wedding update. Firstly, thank you for the kind comments and for your input. I tried to reply to all of them, but I've fallen behind, so please forgive me if I haven't replied to your comment. I was not asking if I am a difficult person for defending my position. I stand by my actions. I am trying to figure out if I should have done more to convince my parents to come, rather than simply accepting they won't be there. I am going to take the advice many of you have suggested, and have another sit down with my parents and reiterate my feelings. I will be firm with them. I agree with everything you said, friend. I'm trying to decide if I should have done more to persuade my parents to come with me, instead of just accepting that they won't be there. I'm going to follow the advice many of you have given me, and have another chat with my parents. I'll be firm with them and remind them that they are welcome to come, but that if they do, I expect them to be kind and courteous to everyone. I'll do an update when I speak to them. Thank you again, Reddit. Verdict. Not the arsehole. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Nta. They're the ones deciding not to come. You can't be an arsehole for OP, thank you. I think I need to keep reminding myself that I'm not stopping them from coming. They are making that decision. OP should stand her ground against her parents and not let them hurt Steven's feelings. She should make sure Steven is being treated well. OP, thank you. You've sort of hit the nail on the head. Thank you for your kind words. I think I need to keep reminding myself that I'm not stopping them from coming. They are making that decision. O should stand her ground against her parents and not let them hurt Steven's feelings. She should make sure Steven is being treated well. You've really hit the nail on the head. I feel very hurt that they would feel this way, but also that they would let those feelings get in the way of something so important to me. Thank you for saying I'm a good friend. Honestly, it's not hard to be a good friend to him because he is such an amazing person. I've been lucky beyond. I've been lucky to have him in my life for the last 14 years and to have him in my corner for life. Comment 2. Inte. Your parents are being transphobic assholes. They're concerned about appearances in photos. Why? Like anyone else who sees them is going to realize that Steven is trans. This isn't just a difference of opinion. Commenter, you're right, I've been in his life for 14 years and he's always been there for me. Your parents are being transphobic. They're worried about how he'll look in the wedding photos, but everyone will know he's trans. This is hate. If you remove him, it'll be worse. Honestly, after all this, I don't think I'd want them at the wedding. 0p, I don't really understand why they're so bothered about the photos. I think the whole photo thing is just an excuse to say they don't want him at the wedding. Commenter 3. At no point have you told your parents or family that they can't attend. That's all on them. I'm sorry that they are making this hard for you. This should be a happy event and they are. I think the whole photo thing is just an excuse to say they don't want him at the wedding. Commenter 3. You never told your parents or family that they can't come to the wedding. It's their decision. I'm sorry they're making this hard for you. This should be a happy event, and they're making it difficult for you. You seem like a truly lovely person, and you don't deserve to be treated this way by your family. You sound like you have great friends and an equally great fiancé, so keep surrounded by those positive, supportive people. They're what you deserve. Update 2 days later. Hi everyone. Sorry, for some reason this post was deleted from the Ada page, so I just thought I'd post here and then at least some people might see it. Just wanted to do an update since everyone was so kind and helpful in the comments. I met my parents for lunch yesterday and just laid everything out. I stood my I told them that Steven would be at the wedding, and that I wouldn't be taking any money from them. I asked why they hadn't said anything about this before, and they basically said they'd been keeping quiet about it. They said that this had made everything come out, and that they've had this issue for a long time. I told them that Stephen would be at the wedding, and that I wouldn't be accepting any money from them. I asked why they hadn't said anything about this before, and they said they had kept quiet because they thought it would cause a fight. Now we're not sure what to do. They still say they won't be coming, but I've told them that if they can put their feelings aside, they're welcome to come on the day. I just need them to be kind and courteous to everyone there. I guess we will just have to wait and see. That I have sent a message to my cousins explaining the situation, and I've yet to hear back, so that's up in the air too. That I feel like I also need to say that I have spoken to Stephen about this. That I know a lot of people said I shouldn't talk to him about it, but that wasn't an option for us. We have a very open friendship and we are always honest with each other. He would have known something was wrong if a lot of my family just suddenly weren't at my wedding. He was obviously very upset, and he immediately offered to step back from the wedding party. Both my fiancé and I were adamant about how important it was for us that he remained part of the wedding. My fiancé said that he is an important part of our lives and it would mean a lot if he was standing up there beside him. We all cried a bit, and ultimately he's staying, so that's where things stand for now. It's not an ideal situation, of course. It has made me question my relationship with my family, especially regarding where we stand on obvious topics. I don't think I want to completely cut them from my life, but I think it will be difficult going forward regardless of whether or not they come to the wedding. I was probably naive about their views on a lot of things because it has never affected my life before. I'll admit that's probably a selfish way to have lived, but I'll put my hands up and admit that's how it's been anyway. Thank you again to everyone who I was probably naive about their views on a lot of things because it has never affected my life before. But I'll admit that's how it's been. Thank you again to everyone who commented. It has been really amazing to see the overwhelmingly kind comments. Top commenter. I am happy that you are standing your ground and letting them know they can still come, but that they would have to be respectful to all. It was also good that you talked to him and let him know how much he means to you. Were doing the right thing. Third story. My delusional husband is upset that I don't look more like a mom because I lost my baby weight and put more effort into my appearance, taking good care of myself and my son, unlike his mother. He claimed I'm a bad. Dan and I have been married for 3 years and 8 months and we have an amazing son. We wanted to have a family and being a mom has changed my life for the better. I was able to take 4.5 months off work after having the baby, and then go back to work without too many problems. We both work office jobs that require smart clothes, and my normal workday look is a skirt or pair of slacks, a silk blouse, heels. I'm 5'0", so I always wear heels, and maybe a blazer if I have a big meeting. Dan wears a suit almost every day, and I also style my hair. My work clothes are smart. I wear a skirt or trousers with a silk blouse, heels, and a blazer if I have a big meeting. Dan wears a suit almost every day. I also do my hair and makeup for work every day. This is what I wore before our son was born, and what I continue to wear. Dan and I share parenting duties. I tend to take mornings because I'm more of a morning person than Dan. A normal morning for me starts early. I have a short workout, shower, get the baby up, get ready, and get the baby. I put on some makeup for work every day. This is what I wore before our son was born, and what I still wear now. Dan and I share parenting duties equally. I tend to take mornings because I'm a morning person. A normal morning for me starts early with a short workout, shower, getting the baby up, getting ready, and getting the baby ready to go to daycare. Then Dan leaves for work. I'm normally dressed at the end of this process, but I keep my robe on over my clothes, in case my son wants to give my outfit something to remember me by on our way out the door. For the last month or so, Dan has been more irritable than normal. I'm getting ready for Dan, who's on his way to work. I'm usually dressed at the end of this process, but I keep my robe on over my clothes in case my son wants to give my outfit something to remember me by on our way out. For the last month or so, Dan has been more irritable than normal in the morning. He makes comments if he gets up while I'm drying my hair or getting dressed. Basically, if I'm not 100% focused on my son in the morning, our son is happy playing and being supervised. I just thought it was morning moodiness, but it's been getting worse. Last night, I brought it up in what I thought was I tried to talk to him calmly, without getting angry about how he was acting. But he answered, "Well, my mom was a 100% mom after she had kids. She put on quite a lot of weight and never tried to lose it. She wore sweatpants every day and had a job where she wore a uniform. So if she wasn't in her work uniform, she was in sweats and a t-shirt." In a neutral, non-confrontational way, he basically said that his mom was a 100% mom. After having her kids, she gained a fair amount of weight and never tried to lose it. She wore sweatpants every day and worked in a job where she wore a uniform, so if she wasn't in her work uniform, she was in sweatpants and a t-shirt. She never did her hair or makeup. Her entire identity was being a mom. And she shared with me how hard it was to watch her kids start their own lives. Dan thinks I don't care about our son as much as he does, since I worked on losing the baby weight and still put effort into my appearance. I feel like keeping this part of my identity actually helps. I love my son, but I'm still me and I still have the things I like to do. Dressing well, blow-drying my hair, doing my makeup. My identity actually helps me be a better mother. I love my son, but I'm still me and I still have the things I like to do. Dressing well, blow-drying my hair, doing my makeup. Blowing out my hair and doing my makeup are therapeutic to me. Now, that being said, my son is my life, and if I knew that not doing those things would guarantee my son a happy and healthy life, I would stop immediately. I told Dan that my son and I have our morning routine, and he gets lots of time and attention before I go to the office. Dan said he wasn't looking to fight, but he just wanted me to think about my priorities and how I manage my time. Is it normal for new mothers to have this attitude? I knew that not doing those things would make sure my son was happy and healthy. I would stop immediately. I told Dan that my son and I have our morning routine, and he gets lots of time and attention before I go to the office. Dan said he wasn't looking to argue, but he just wanted me to think about what is most important to me and how I manage my time. Is it normal for new mothers to completely give up all the things you like to do? Is this a sign of something deeper that I need to talk to my husband about? TLDR. My husband thinks that because I take my time to get ready every morning, I'm not as good of a mother as I could be. Relevant comments. Why does he care that much about how you look if it doesn't actually directly affect? I'm not sure if I understand. Is it bad that my husband doesn't like how I look when I'm getting ready in the morning? He says that I'm not as good of a mother as I could be. Why does he care so much about how I look? It doesn't directly affect your son's life. I agree with you. If it doesn't make a difference to how your son is treated, why can't you do your makeup and so on? You're not spending all that time and ignoring your son. I don't really get why he thinks that how someone looks is related to how good of a mother they are. Even if his mom was like you said. I understand your concerns about your son, but I don't think you need to change how you look just because of how you look. I don't think it's fair to say that if you don't look perfect, you're a bad mother. I think it's good to take care of yourself as well as your son. I don't think you need to change what you're doing. My job is in sales and customer service. I think I have to look professional because that's what my clients expect. I didn't think it affected my parenting. MCQ 76. He should stop. He shouldn't be projecting his views of motherhood and memories of his own mom onto you. It's inaccurate and just a little creepy. It sounds like you're spending time with your kid. So he has nothing to complain about. I can't even begin to imagine how I'd rationalize dressing like a slob, meaning you love your kid more. It's basically that any time I spend doing stuff for myself is time that our son isn't the center of attention, but I am paying attention to our son. He's never neglected, and if I had to choose between straightening my hair and making my son feel better, my son wins without a second thought. Update. My husband 32 per M is upset that I 31 per F don't. I think that any time I spend doing things for myself is time that our son isn't the center of attention, but I am paying attention to him. He's never neglected, and if I had to choose between straightening my hair and making my son feel better, my son wins without a second thought. My husband 32 is upset that I 31 don't look more like a mom. Part due 10 days later. I had no idea my post would get so much attention. There was a lot of really solid advice, and one creepy PM warning me that by dressing in business attire and wearing lipstick and heels, I was being overly sexy all around my child, and that would turn my son into a serial killer. Stay gold, read it a couple of times. 10 days later, I looked more like a mom. I had no idea my post would get so much attention. There was a lot of really useful advice, and one creepy PM warned me that by dressing in business attire and wearing lipstick and heels, I was being overly sexy around my child and that would turn my son into a serial killer. Stay calm, read it a couple of times. My mom did work when my husband was growing up. She just did not have an office job. She works in a medical field and wears scrubs every day. When she's not in scrubs, she's in sweatpants. Seriously, for our wedding, his family started a pool to see whether or not she would wear sweatpants to the wedding. I did not suddenly get sick after my son was born. I was slightly overweight before my son was born, and I'm back to my pre-baby slightly overweight shape now. The update. Dan and I went out without our son so we could talk. I told him that I was confused by his comment and I wanted to talk about it. I asked him if he could name specific things about the morning routine that made him feel as I was a bit overweight before my son was born, and I've now gone back to my pre-baby weight. I told Dan and I went out without our son so we could talk. I told him I was confused by his comment and wanted to talk about it. I asked him to name specific things about the morning routine that made him feel as I offered to switch shifts if he thought our son should have more morning parent time. To cut a long and confusing conversation short, Dan's confused by the fact that I got over my postpartum depression and I'm back to normal now. For some context, my PPD never made me question whether or not I loved my son or made. I offered to change shifts to have more time with our son in the morning because he was neglected. Dan is confused by the fact that I got over my postpartum depression, PPD, and am back to normal now. To give you some idea, my PPD made me feel like we should never have had our son. I felt like I was constantly failing him, like I wasn't good enough to be his mom, and that he deserved better. There were a few times I broke down and started crying, and told Dan that he was so much better at being a parent than I was, and that our son didn't deserve a rubbish mom. I felt like we should never have had children. My postpartum depression made me feel like I was a bad mother, and that I wasn't good enough to be his mother and that he deserved better. There were a few times I broke down and started crying, and told Dan that he was better at being a parent than I was, and that our son didn't deserve to have a bad mother. Luckily, I have an amazing doctor who realized that this was more than just depression, and helped me get the help I needed. Could have been much worse. Basically, Dan only felt like a good parent when I was failing and telling him that I was terrible at it. Now that I'm doing better, he no longer feels like a good dad. It's a bit harsh, but we're starting. I'm seeing a doctor because I'm worried about my son. I'm seeing a couple counselor. I'm continuing with the counseling I started when I was having problems with depression. Dan's going to see someone too. We're going to figure it out. I'm still going to wear high heels to work, even though it's going to turn my son into an axe murderer. My husband felt inadequate once I dealt with my postpartum issues. He tried to undermine me to make me feel better. We're getting counseling, and my baby is going to be a serial killer. Edit. Words are hard. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends. Comment 1NT, comment 1NT, a top comment 1.